I'm doing a recording for Trust Your Glitter, and this is an episode that is super personal. I was informed by somebody that they feel certain things about my content as of late, and here's how I'm going to put it. I can only show up where I'm at right now, and I know that a huge part of what I'm doing is part of my purpose. So as I lean into my purpose, I'm gonna have to continue to lean into pushing through criticism. And as I push through criticism, I say exactly what's on my mind with the knowledge of the fact that most of my content is extremely personal, and it's extremely related to the fact that I'm going through a huge therapy process. So as I do this, know coming in, yes, I love astrology. The knowledge of astrology is something I use as a tool, as a mechanism of understanding the universe. B, I'm a flawed human being. I come from religious trauma and was indoctrinated into the Catholic Church for the first 12 years of my life, and the effects of that, and the fact that that affects my whole family, my whole relative family, is something that I've had to go through a lot of therapy over the last few decades of my life. Is something I find really, really important, and I think it's imperative to healing. So as I go through this healing process of healing trauma, understand I'm sharing this story because my intuition is saying to keep sharing and to keep showing up to home plate, because ultimately I was realizing today Venus is going direct tomorrow on September 3rd. I'll have more extensive podcasts out as we go along with the astrology. But this journey of self-worth and value doesn't end. We also have Jupiter going retrograde in Venus's home sign, Taurus. So the lesson of value and really having to re-examine, again, recording as having to re-examine. This is what happens. I talk fast. All of my flaws, let's put them out there for the world. I am a flawed woman. Sometimes I speak wrong. Sometimes I don't look like all these fucking things. Value, self-worth, self-respect, showing up to home plate even when you're getting criticized, when you have a weird voice, when you don't look a certain way, when you don't have a BBL. These are the things, when you're the ick to somebody, I love new language where it's just like new terms that come up. Like we went, the hippies had groovy, and now we have the ick. We went from groovy, it was before groovy, but like we went from groovy to ick. And I was thinking that it's like, who creates this language? Somebody puts that out there and then it just picks up. Ultimately, this is about faith. Venus in retrograde is going to re-speak, reconverse, reconnect to so many outer planets as she starts to go forward from 12 degrees of Leo back to 28 degrees. And we sat with a Venus station at 28 degrees Leo, who was in a quincunx to both Pluto and Neptune, who were both retrograde. So this is like a big assignment we went through, and it's not ending yet. Like, it's part of the lesson was the Venus retrograde, and now the lesson of Venus direct and Jupiter going retrograde and Mars in a Venusian sign. Like, I'll keep saying, like, Venus is front and center for us, for many of us. So knowing where Venus is in your chart and knowing like how this retrograde really affected you. What house was she in? What house is she in right now? Where is she going direct? Where's your 7th house? Where's your 2nd house? Is Venus connected to any planets in your chart? Do you have a Venus ruled chart? Who's holding the torch in your chart? I once had an ex where I've had to sit with this, because in Vedic astrology, one of the most important charts that they look at is something called the 9th harmonic. You can look at your 9th harmonic through your Western tropical chart as well, which I do not know my Vedic harmonic, but I do know my Western 9th harmonic, and I was looking at it, and it's supposed to be the window to your soul in many ways, because it's looking at the harmonic of Jupiter. So in this particular case, it's kind of saying like, this is your Jupiterian nature, this is your spiritual nature. And in certain traditions, it's also looking at like marriage partners, soulmates, things like really, really connected to the highest version of our soul selves. And so I made a mistake earlier this year. An ex of mine is a really good astrologer. And I had a really bad birthday this year. It was my own doing. But it was my Venus story, because my Venus forgot that she's in control. My deepest self forgot that I am in control. And so I gave this information over to my ex of my ninth harmonic chart. In this whole Venus story, I realized I gave this person this power, and their response back to me was an assessment of my soul. And what I realized is, like, part of this lesson is I don't need to give this power away anymore. And B, how have I contributed to this to other people? And C, I need to be a better reader. I need to be a better person because of this interaction. Astrology gives us these tools, but really ultimately it's up to us to interpret how they are interpreted. And as Venus has given us these, I don't think this was a harsh Venus retrograde, although I'm sure other people's experiences could have been very different. I think this was a very introspective assignment. And the introspective assignment has nothing to do with other people's expectations of your heart's dream. And ultimately, it was a deconstructing lesson, so that your relationships across the board, friendships, family, love, even those that have fallen off, can be looked at from a healthier space, and allowing that expression to be what it needs to be. Especially with the fact that Venus connected with Neptune and Pluto before she went retrograde. A quincunx is not an easy connection. It's indirect, if you think about it. It's kind of like looking around or across the way. You can't directly see what's around that corner, but you can kind of see the reflection of it. Kind of. You don't get the full reflection of it, but it holds you. And the holding pattern of the finger of fate, so there's a quincunx to Neptune, quincunx to Pluto, as she's stationed. That holding pattern was saying, where's your strength here? Somebody's going to throw some shit at you. It could even be a memory. How do you take your power back here? Previous relationships are definitely something that are meant to be assessed right now, all across the board. I'm deeply entrenched. I'll keep talking about that in my family system that I grew up in. Religious trauma, expectations. I'm in the constant reminder of where I've been, all the mistakes I've made, what I need to do. The how right now is not something I know. That is an unknown. The how is an unknown right now for me. But I keep reminding myself the how will figure itself out. But it's up to me to know that I'm committed to my dream. That I'm committed to express myself. I'm committed to my heart. That's what Venus is saying. This is the heart chakra work. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense all the time. Me pressing record right now doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It makes no sense. It's the weird time of day. I'm sitting here, writing out a list, doing laundry. Grateful I can do laundry right now. There's been times in my life where I've had to really wing it. There's been times in my life where I've done trash can laundry. There's been times when I've done bathtub laundry. There's been times in my life where all these different things. But today I get to do laundry and I get to write a list of what I am looking forward to as Venus goes direct. Who am I now? Who was I then? Who was I when I made this first list? Who, what, when, where, why, and how? Well, I know who made this list of goals. I know what motivated it. I know why. When, a little iffy right now. Where? The where has a heart's desire. But the how, not sure. And that's really what she's asking here. We've had moon cycles in between. We just came out of a very, very poignant supermoon in Pisces. Very emotional. Connected to music, connected to water, the oceans, those deep, deep crevasses of our soul. We're going to be going into a new moon in the sign of Virgo. And so this is just kind of me doing the back work because I have some ideas how I want to go forward with my content, and I'm terrified. So this is just me ramping myself up. I'm posting this as like a bonus episode, whatever the hell I'm doing with my podcast. I'm just following my intuition. The journey is fucking fantastic and it's fucking hard. The journey to creativity. I don't know half the time how things are going to be received, but I keep showing up to home plate. And I realized this because I had my Venus retrograde in my 8th house. Our 8th house is our trauma zone. So if you don't know your 8th house, if you're going through trauma in any form, check your Pluto. Check where your 8th house is. Check your Scorpio stuff. Because a lot of times the trauma is right there for you to see. And if you're going to look at anything, start with your 8th house. Start with your Pluto. Start with your South Node. Look at your moon. I would even argue look at your 4th house, but that's not 8th house stuff. That's moon stuff. That's mom, family. Venus gets infiltrated a lot of the time. Some people have amazing Venuses, like Angelina Jolie has a Venus on her ascendant. She is here to be a supermodel on this planet, shine and be beautiful, and stand there and stand up to injustice. She's a perfect example of somebody who really shines in their Venus sign. But also faces fucking challenges. If you think of any sort of female lead character in any the warrior of Venus gets overlooked because she's often like made to only be this like demure, like save me type of person. Venus is not a please come save me. Venus is a very come hither, allow my presence to heal you. But society has infiltrated the message of Venus, so Venusian energy has had to find its way through a capitalistic society. Now we have Venus in Leo in retrograde. She's stationing. We're in, as I record this, I'll let y'all know if you're looking at the horary chart, 3:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2nd of September, we are in the energy of a Venus station. She is holding it down. She is saying, okay, I'm ready to go forward. I'm ready to move. She's still in a fire sign. We are in an Earth season of Virgo, huge supermoon in water. But Venus herself is in fire. I think it's super symbolic that Burning Man this year has been underwater. Well, not underwater, but faced a lot of challenges with water because it's like this fire-water dynamic, and Burning Man is a huge ritual that I have a lot of questions about what's happening there. But for a lot of people who are burners for Burning Man, you know, that's their spiritual quest. And everybody goes on a spiritual quest in very different ways. LA to me is a fire city. Faced a lot of watery situations over the last, winter through summer. I think that Venus in fire is really redefining what fire is supposed to be, as opposed to this fear of destruction. I saw this video of lava taking out desert orchids. Were they orchids? And the orchids are so fragile, and the lava just, you can see like this almost artistic moment of these fragile orchids just being, I would say, glopped up by this lava. But it's so beautiful because it's like they served their life. Those orchids served their life. And the lava is almost like, it's almost like they're this offering to the lava. Like, we grew from this seemingly desolate land, and yet the molten lava energy, that deep Pluto energy, ultimately can say, thank you, and now it's time to transform. And now it's time to grow into your greatest self. Lava, there's something very nutritious about that. Like, if you think of the lava itself creating soil that is more healed, more nutritious. I pulled a Kali card. It's on my little makeshift altar here. Let me grab it. So, Kali card I had on this altar for the full moon. I redid my moon water. I have a very old desk that one day will be donated. And looking at this furniture that I grew up with and deciding like what all of this means, what it all represents. The phases of life are just like the phases of the moon. Faces, cycles. So Durga Kalika is this card that I've had in my notebook just as like a reminder. In unusually challenging situations, the ways we have supported ourselves during more ordinary times are insufficient. We need to be open to divine inspiration, protection, and proceeding in new ways. Here is a portent of unexpected success. Even if everything appears to be going against you, the tide shall turn through divine grace. And I think that, I've probably read these cards so many different times on so many different videos and podcasts. But I do think that for a lot of sacred feminine energy out there, this is a portent of unexpected change and shift. I have true faith. The more people, I have just been holding my ground. And the more people try and criticize me, I just push back. And I think part of what this podcast is legit. I trust my glitter. When I hit record, when I put out something, I'm trusting. Some days I'm showing up in full trauma. I don't know shit about baseball, okay? I've been to some baseball games over my life. I don't know shit about it, right? I was on the treadmill. I was doing my routine. I was thinking to myself, how do I face trauma in a different way? If I were to go back into a comedy scene that I really, really want to face again. Because a huge part of this whole process of me really tackling my trauma, this has been 6 months of therapy. Really tackling my trauma, my OCD, my past challenges when it comes to social anxiety. It's real. This is real shit for me. Panic attacks are real, and having to do the shadow work around it. And I'm so grateful TikTok has this huge shadow work trend. So grateful, and I'm going to keep talking about it because integration is exactly what the lava over the orchid is. You can make things look like a flowery orchid for so long, this fragile flower. But ultimately, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and even Jupiter, but I would say Pluto, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune have the biggest say in our lives on a collective scale and in our natal charts. So with Venus in connection to 2 outer planets, and we're going to be facing this again, then she's going to be squaring. She's squaring Jupiter, then she's going to be squaring Uranus. We're going to have these sacred outer connections. And I want to thank, I do want to thank Instagram and shout outs to, Synchronicity University, Nadia Shah, for posting a video with Rick Levine, because I've been thinking about this for however long, many days now, about Neptune, Saturn, and Jupiter. I've been sitting here just chewing on these outer planet lessons because I have a natal Saturn ruled chart. So for me, an astrolata for posting about Saturn connections and charts, because society is undergoing such a big transformation that Venus retrograde is part of the mosaic of change, but it's it's not that she's a small part here. She's the flame starter, the fire starter. This Venus retrograde lit a match in our hearts again. So for some people that might be divorces. For some people that might be recognizing that they've been missing out on love. For some people that means, you hate the career you're in and you've got to do something before this time is up. We've only got this one life. For me, it's religious trauma that really affected every single fucking decision of my life. And is continually used as a weapon against me. Continually. Family systems are important. When I looked at, and breaking down those values, right? Breaking down the family values. Because if we go on the scale of what we really value, that is what Venus is asking us. Jupiter's asking us the same question and expanding that knowledge around it. As Jupiter goes retrograde, it's going to be like, okay, you've got this knowledge. It could feel like you have to make a decision versus this value. But getting back to baseball, your home plate. You are home plate. You are home. You are your own home. And it's deciding what your home looks like. I grew up in a specific family system. I don't think that this is the home that is healthy. However, I am grateful for it. How do I create my own home? Who gets to come into this home? Who gets to be part of this? And how do I show up as my own home anywhere I go? And that's the problem I was having with a place like Los Angeles. And it was spilling out into everywhere I was going. Because that's what trauma does. When trauma's your home plate, trauma shows up as the main character. And that's the fucking problem. And that's what I've been learning over the last 6 months is I have to give trauma her microphone right now because she's hindering everything else. She's getting in the way of all of the other things. And that's what shadow work did, was it gave me the ability to be like, I can no longer go through life like this. I can face literally the actual situation that contributed to that, but ultimately I now have to make better decisions. I have to recognize that I am home. I am here. I am me. And Miss Venus in Leo is no joke. She really is meant to take center stage, so to speak. So it's interesting because she is challenging the narrative with Pluto in Capricorn. She's challenging that. Lilith's right there with her. And if these are all aspects of our personality, it's really also reassessing what this means for you. And showing up in a way that's like, they might not be listening to me right now. I'm still pressing record. They might not think I'm beautiful. I'm still putting myself on video. A friend of mine, Simply Courtney, posted this amazing post that I saw it, I reshared it, and I think that it is exactly it's exactly what Venus retrograde is. And the post is by Rebecca DeAndrea. and the flyer is ugly, but they posted it. Their book is 26 pages, but it's published. Their event had 14 people, but it happened. Their pictures are pixelated, but it's done. Your critiques may be valid, but they're a projection of your reality. You didn't finish it yet, so hush. Hush, I say, and get it done. Love us for real. Rebecca DeAndrea, and then it's reposted by I Am Simply Courtney. He's a comedian out of Texas, Austin, Texas. Really amazing person. Runs so many rooms down there. Just a big heart. And when he posted that, I sat with that post and I was like, this is exactly how I'm feeling right now. And this is Venus direct. This is her message. This is a channeled message. This is spirit talking right now, because the fucking algorithm on Instagram is trash. I see like 2 people and then some weird fucking shit. I usually delete the app a couple of days a week because it gets so fucking overwhelming for me on Instagram. But I keep showing up to the plate. And that message kept me being like, I don't even think I get 100 views per video, but I'm showing up and I'm putting exactly what I want online. This is what I do. This is Venus. Self-expression. It doesn't matter if an algorithm decides you're worthy. It doesn't matter if an industry decides that you're signable or worthy. It doesn't matter if, I've been thinking about my age for years, since I turned about 35. And I'm like, oh shit, like, this is where I'm at 35. Now this is where I'm at 37. But at 37, I have traveled I have gone around the globe of this world. I have been back and forth across this country several times. I have traveled to the Amazon rainforest. There are things that I've done in my life that maybe aren't what the federal workers going up and down 95 to DC and Baltimore every day do, and what I was trained to do when I was in college. In college, if you grow up in an area near DC or New York, the thing is to take internships so that you can network and then you can become part of the system. And I always was in my internships, like, looking at these people at their desks, like, they were in so much pain. Physically, people were going... I worked with a woman at an internship in Congress at a summer internship who had cancer and was going to work, and they were telling me the story about, like, coworkers were like, yeah, she would, like, come here and, like, push through. And I was thinking, is this what it is? Going to chemo and then going to sit behind a desk and being miserable all day? Is that what this is? We deserve more. And I think that that's ultimately what Venus is saying. We deserve more. Love. And I am a student of love. I have not gotten a lot of things right in my life, but I can fully say I am loyal. That is something that I've learned over this Venus retrograde, is like, I am fucking loyal. Now, learning what loyalty means and choosing to be loyal to myself versus, certain other aspects. So, I'll be back. These little bonus sort of audio episodes are just going to have a life right here. Spotify, Trust Your Glitter. My name's Belich. If you're new to this podcast, look, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just doing it, I'm showing up, doing horoscopes. I've got some interviews coming out with some friends of mine that I really respect, and I'm just showing up however my intuition is telling me to. So some weeks I'll have a bunch of podcasts out, and some weeks I'll just have one out. It really depends on what my gut is instructing me to do. So, lots of love. Share your Venus stories. Tell me. I'm on all social media, Trust Your Glitter, Christy Belich with a K. And I just wish everybody all the best, all the love, all the respect, all the self-worth, all the value, all the manifestations, all the portents of unexpected success. Take care.